Overlooking the Minnesota River Valley, just a few miles southeast of Montevideo, is the Swensson Farm Museum, an historic farmstead settled by Norwegian immigrant Olaf Swensson in the 1880s. Today the farm is maintained by the Chippewa County Historical Society as a farm museum. June Linney is the executive director and is unreservedly proud of this historic gemstone.
I shouldn't play favorites, I actually do, and I have to tell you, it is my favorite site, but it's probably one of the most amazing farm sites. I think you'll get an opportunity to visit. We have a home that was built at the turn of the century. The barn was built in the 1880s. And I have to tell you that the first time I walked into the Swensson Farm Museum barn, and I opened that door and I looked up, and I had this feeling of immense awe. I was even more awe than I was at what the Metrodome was. The workmanship, the skilled craftsmanship. The barn was a very typical barn raising type of event that happened. The house in and of itself, 22-room brick home, 2-story home, private chapel on the second floor, was built by just Olaf and his daughter Katie. The foundations of these structures are 7-8 feet high, 4 feet thick. These are granite stones, massive granite stones that were brought in by father and daughter. To build their home and to build their barn. The family history is some of the most amazing family history. Honestly, anybody who's got a private chapel in their home that's 39 feet by 39 feet is going to have a unique history.
Olaf Swensson was born on a farm in Norway in 1843 and immigrated to America with his wife in 1871, settling on this farm near Wegdahl in Chippewa County. The Swensson Farm Museum is open Sundays from Memorial Day to Labor Day. But every year in September, the Chippewa County Historical Society holds a special event here, one that brings people from great distances to see all kinds of antique horse-drawn implements at work. The house and other buildings are open to the public to watch demonstrations and buy handmade goods from vendors of several heritage crafts, and to hear interpretive guides tell the story of the amazing Swensson family. Swensson was industrious and became known for his building skills as evidenced by the structures that remain on the farmstead today. Take the timber-framed barn, for example. Built in the 1880s, it rests on a one-story foundation cut from locally gathered granite boulders. The barn's elaborate system of wind bracing and notching attest to Swensson's skills as a designer and builder. A museum quality preservation of the barn was completed in 2003, possibly one of the largest barn preservation projects ever undertaken in the United States, and stands as an official project of the now defunct Save America's Treasures program. On this special day, the barn is being used for vendors of items such as home canned goods. And a rope making demonstration. And what would make a better place for square dancing? There's plenty of fun activities for people of all ages. There's enough room in this big old barn for lots of vendors. You never know who you'll bump into at an event like this. Outside the barn, children enjoy a small petting zoo. Others enjoy freshly harvested apples and hot sandwiches. Fresh cider is available too. At the age of 58, Olaf Swensson began building the 22-room wood frame house in 1901 and faced it with brick in 1903. Today, the house is filled with volunteers from the Chippewa County Historical Society, as well as a few vendors. Not long ago, this amazing historic site was used for some of the location shots in the feature film Sweetland, as June Linney explains.
For those who are familiar with the little movie that we like to call Sweetland, a great deal of that was filmed out at the Swensson Farm Museum. And if you remember the apple pie baking scene, I think most people would say that that's probably one of the most poignant scenes in that entire movie. Was of course shot inside the Swensson farm kitchen. The scene with Ned Beatty as the banker was shot inside the dining room. The magic motion or picture show was shot inside of the barn building. And so they had an opportunity to take a site and use it to portray several different buildings throughout the scene of the movie. So it is. We still have people. We just had a couple from Nebraska in last week who was doing, I guess, what you would call the Sweetland tour, and who was talking with people who were involved. And Sweetland is probably one of the best things that happened in Chippewa County. I think it was an opportunity to bring in a variety of different cultures, and somehow they blended wonderfully together. I think we had an opportunity to showcase what Chippewa and Lackaparle counties had to offer the film industry, and I hope one day they'll be back.
In the basement of the house is Olaf's workshop. The monumental task of cutting and laying the foundation of huge local granite stones was done by Olaf and his daughter Katie. Together they, with the occasional help of one carpenter, built the entire home, which has 52 doors and 59 windows. In his workshop, Olaf also designed and built molds for the family's grave markers, to be made of concrete. And in a quiet corner of the farmstead is the family cemetery where they stand to this day. Olaf Swensson was a devout Christian and held weekly services in Norwegian for family and neighbors in the huge chapel in the second floor of his home. He was an immigrant with big dreams, wrote several books stating his convictions, proposed an amendment to the United States Constitution, and even ran, unsuccessfully, for governor of Minnesota. Whether watching beautiful horses at work, tasting fresh lefse, shopping for heritage craft items, or learning the history of the amazing pioneer family that built this farmstead, you will enjoy the horsepower event at Swensson Farm Museum.
That particular site is one I think that anybody from the Midwest, and I would hope that anybody even from a metropolitan area, can get a little bit better understanding about what an immigrant's dream is like. Because Olaf Swensson certainly had that, and he lived this amazing immigrant's dream. I mean, most didn't have, weren't as fortunate as he was. But to bring us back to what our ag history is, to what our farming history is, to the simplicity of the way life used to be at the 1900s, even on a house and a barn of that magnificent size is probably one of the most amazing things. You will love the Swensson Farm Museum. I personally guarantee it. I love the Swensson Farm Museum, and I don't know that I've met anybody who has not fallen in love with that site.